Us.
The super committee needs to focus on us.
Not the super rich.
Not the super rich.
Not the lobbyists.
Not the lobbyists.
Occupy everywhere.
Occupy everywhere.
Power to the people.
Power to the people.
Well, I'm wearing my Great American Cap because we're trying to save America and bring it into a very fair and balanced country like it was when I was growing up.
I have children in their 30s and they're finding it extremely difficult to live here, make a living, raise their children, and we know in our 60s age group and older that they will never be able to do better than their parents like we knew we could do as we grew up, and that's very discouraging to them, and yet they have a wonderful spirit. Greed, I think the United States has a lot of greed. We feel entitled. Whatever we can make, we deserve, and we've forgotten what it's like to share with other people who don't have enough.
We're living with the results of the last election. And for some reason, people did not vote their own best interests. I think now they're going to begin to see, oh, there's another way of looking at what Congress does. Doing nothing does not work.
I haven't done anything for 20 years, and I've decided that the future of my children we hold in our palm. We have got to get off the couch and start moving. The middle class is going downhill as we speak. All of our monies are going to pay for wars that have never benefited us in any way, shape, or form. So I'm here to say we stand in solidarity. We stand for voting for a Jobs Act now. Would you want to have your son in Iraq coming home to no possible jobs at all and have everyone saying, great job, son, but sorry, there's nothing there for you? What would be a solution is for people in Congress people, to drop their political views of being a Democrat or a Republican and vote for what's right for the country. That's it.
Well said.
Thank you.
Yes, yeah. We're sick and tired of Congress dragging their heels and making politics when everybody's hungry and wanting health care and wanting jobs and wanting to get out and work, and they're just dragging their fannies. They need to stop being politicians and be servants of the people.
I am very upset about the banks who we bailed out refuse to help people who need refinancing so that they can save their homes. I think that is unconscionable.
Deficit Supercommittee is meeting, I believe, in 6 days to unveil their budget plan. And if I'm not mistaken, they're going to once again try to cut our services in return for tax breaks for the rich. The rich are already paying some of the lowest taxes they've paid in nearly a century, down to 35% and actually far less than that. I think it's time for them to pay their fair share.
And what would that be? What would you suggest?
I'm not actually sure that raising the marginal tax rate past maybe 40% is necessary. I think closing all those tax loopholes would help. I believe we have $1.2 trillion in tax money lost each year to tax breaks. That's more than I think all the income taxes paid last year, which was $1.1 trillion. So you close off those tax breaks and loopholes and you nearly double the amount of income tax we get. I think that would solve a lot of our problems.
If 99% believe in raising, well, they don't want to knuckle under lobbyists like Congress just did, continuing to declare pizza. We vote for reason, and which Congress did too.
I believe that people should stop shopping as much as they can. Support small business. I know you have to shop a little bit, but if we can send a direct message to the corporations by boycotting and the realization that we the people, are 70% of consumer spending is what drives the American economy. So if we can stop that, then and have a list, an agenda that we can, voter reform, election reform, financial reform, getting lobbyists out of government, other things like that. We need an agenda. We present it. We say we're going to boycott until you get your lobbyists to go work for us in Washington. I think it could work so well. And, you know, we need to do something because there's so much corruption in the system.
Collect the taxes from the top. Don't cut teachers. Don't cut costs. Collect the taxes from the top. Don't cut teachers. Don't cut costs.
Fight back!
They say cut back.
We say fight back!
They say cut back.
We say cut back!
We say fight back.
They say cut back!
We say fight back.
They say cut back!
We say fight back.
They say cut back!
We say fight back.
Woo!
Yeah.
It's gonna take you and me and everyone else here to get involved. I do want to say though, we are nonpartisan. We are not Democratic. We are not Republican. We are the 99%.
We are not Democrats. We are not Republicans. We are pissed off.
I'm here because I choose to not stand by as history happens. We're all here fighting for what's right.
I'm here because it's looking more and more like the 60s. And I did a lot of marching in the 60s, civil rights, against the war. And I was going to let you guys all do it, those of you who are younger. But it's not looking good. And the rest of us are going to have to get out there. Frankly, I look at the news and it's looking like Kent State almost. And it's looking like the 1968 Democratic Convention. And we can't let it go back to anything like that. We got to make them understand we mean it. And I just invite anybody who's kind of my age to recognize that you got to get out there, not leave it up just to the young kids or the young people. Mostly it means to me that we've got to set up a system that is not so corporate driven. Aldous Huxley wrote about Ford and the corporations in Brave New World. That's where we are. That's the danger. I think more people should vote to start with because things are getting up. People are electing really small numbers. But I also think that we're going to have to let the politicians know that just standing there and saying we're not raising taxes is not the way to go. We're going to have to force them to look at the fact that we're out here and their numbers are small and can't win if everybody's out there talking, speaking, and voting.
I'd just like to say that whether we sleep in tents in the parks or not, the idea has come and we are going to occupy our political system one way or another because this idea will not go away. And more people are going to wake up to what's happening to them in this country and the world, which it's all united. We have to get the money out of politics or we're never going to have honest vendors. So it's going to take a lot of groundwork to find people who will actually represent us instead of being bought off by the big money.
Just sick and tired of the nickel and diming that goes on throughout this country by banks and insurance companies. And the steady increasing of commercialization of America. Everywhere you look, there's a commercial, there's a telemarketer calling you out, there's a debt collection agency, there's a credit card payment, there's a late fee. And our country is in debt because we fought 2 wars without funding it, a Medicare provision, Part D passed without that being funded, and then the banks got all the rest of the money, and now we have no money left for the people who paid their taxes into that system. So, so they're trying to balance the books on the backs of those people who need help the most. I'm just sick and tired of it. What would be fair is just this: say no to Grover Norquist, who's got all these Republicans signed up. And they're afraid to raise taxes on their constituents' base. They've got the Tea Party. They're afraid of the Tea Party. The Tea Party doesn't want to raise taxes, but that's the only thing that's going to. When your family is in debt, yeah, you've got to cut back on your spending. But some people get a second job, so we got to raise taxes as well as cut spending.
I will do it wherever. New York, Oakland, San Francisco. This is something I believe in. There are too many victims. People, children, older people, it's just not okay. It's not for people to starve and to be homeless. It's not okay. And that's why I do not understand why our leaders are not following up on us. There are people literally being maced at 84 years of age. Not okay. September of 2007, that's when all the loans got caught. That's when everybody got caught because the loan, I blame the banks, and that's when all the subprime loans came to fruition and all hell broke.
I don't understand. I mean, the banks have committed felonies, one after the other. I mean, it's blatant, it's seen, and the government wants to make deals. I thought when you commit a crime, you pay for the crime. The banks, loans are never taken. You cannot go into a bank and take a loan. It has to be given, and it's only given if you have the proper credit. The bank must use due diligence before a loan is made. They are responsible. But the banks take it one step further. They can insure the mortgagor. They can insure against failure. So when he fails, the bank is rewarded again. There is something terribly corrupt.
And what do you think about the whole Wall Street bailout?
Oh.
Was that fair?
No, it wasn't fair, because what it shows is that Congress, well, the United States has the best Congress that money can buy, and that is not healthy. No, it's the problem with the United States. We can look at the Republicans, we can look at the Democrats, but the problem is in Congress. Until Congress is cleaned, there'll be no real progress.
My name is Marshall Ghetto. I'm a local here currently. I went to college here and I moved away and then I came back. I have a middle-class job. I am very lucky. I'm an IT guy, paid geek, you know, and but I got really lucky because I caught the economic boom of like the late 90s when I was looking for those jobs. And a lot of my friends coming out of college have no jobs to go to that will ever pay down their college debt. So what's the end result of that? You're looking at indentured servitude. If you can't ever pay down your college debt, then you're basically indebted for the rest of your life. And that's, seeing that happen to a lot of my friends is horrible. Also seeing, my grandmother unable to make her medical payments, even with Medicare, a teacher's retirement fund, and Social Security. That's horrible to me. And just knowing that if we stop investing if we stop paying forward for the next generations, we will end up with a horrible country. And I'm not just going to sit around and let that happen. What got us here is the abuses of, and it's not even really the 1%, it's technically like the 0.001%. And it's really about like 400 households and some corporations gaming the system. And if they wouldn't have pushed it that far, if they would have just found a little bit more balance in how they were gaming the system, we would not be out here, right? We wouldn't have to be out here right now. We'd probably be sort of unhappy, but sort of happy, and we'd be fine to sit on our couches and watch Jersey Shore and play Xbox and whatever. But which I love doing, kind of. Unfortunately they pushed it and they kept pushing it, and it's at that breaking point. People are sick of it. But coming out of our General Assemblies have been solutions like obviously doing passing a constitutional amendment to reject corporate personhood, another constitutional amendment to disallow all private money from going to any public servant or any public institution, and that means union money as well as corporate money, and just disallow any private money from going to those groups. We were asking the city, the state, and the county to divest from too big to fail banks. We've been obviously asking consumers to divest from too big to fail banks. And so that's basically, we're coming out with some good concrete things we can do. It's just about really pushing on the political system to get that change to happen, and that's going to be difficult. It's going to take years, but I think most people are ready for that. So down at Occupy SB, you can find us in De La Guerra Plaza pretty much all day long. We have our General Assemblies every day at 6 p.m. We have days of action currently on Saturday, starting at roughly like 11 or noon, and marches and/or community events, teach-ins, workshops, open mics, amazing speakers who've come through, and we're just going to keep doing that. And we're going to try and help educate our community so we can figure out how to redress our grievances with our government.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you.
Of the machine becomes so odious, makes you so sick at heart that you can't take part. You can't even passively take part. And you've got to put your bodies upon the gears and upon the wheels, upon the levers, upon all the apparatus, and you've got to make it stop. And you've got to indicate to the people who run it, to the people who own it, that unless you're free, the machine will be prevented from working at all.